Hello hockey fans, and welcome back to another video. Fans who solely follow the NHL may not realise it, but there are a whole host of professional hockey leagues across Europe that employ the services of North American players every season. Whether these players were unable to crack the NHL long term, or wanted to extend their pro careers by another year or two, the European hockey scene can give those players from across the pond the chance to keep getting paid playing the sport they love, whilst allowing them to travel the world and experience different cities and cultures across the globe. The UK's Elite Ice Hockey League is more reliant on this North American influx than most. According to Elite Prospects, of the league's 215 players during the recent 1920 season, 124 of them had come from America or Canada. As you might expect, these players usually range from NCAA graduates unable to secure a contract back home and looking for their first taste of pro hockey, to former minor leaguers who have spent the last few years bouncing around a variety of European leagues, to recent AHL or ECHL regulars looking to revitalise their career with a change of scenery. However, there have been a number of NHL regulars or even former stars in the league who have brought their talents to the United Kingdom. With that in mind, allow me to take you through my list of the 10 best NHLers to play in the Elite Ice Hockey League. Starting off at number 10, we have Brian McGrattan. Considered to be one of the league's toughest enforcers during his NHL career, Brian McGrattan sure could drop the gloves like the best of them. A former 4th round draft pick back in 1999, McGrattan went on to play parts of 9 seasons in the NHL with a handful of teams, where he scored just 17 points, but registered 609 penalty minutes in 317 games. Following an 8-game stint with the Calgary Flames during the 14-15 season, the Canadian forward spent the rest of that season, as well as the following year in the AHL, before deciding to take his talents overseas, where the 35-year-old forward joined the Elite League's Nottingham Panthers for the 16-17 season. McGrattan would find a role as both the Panthers' primary security guard, as well as a decent point producer for the team, scoring 19 points and racking up 138 penalty minutes in 47 regular season games, as well as notching 5 goals in 9 games during the 2016 Continental Cup tournament to help the Nottingham Panthers defy the odds and take home the trophy, becoming just the first team from the UK to win the cup. Once the season came to an end and his contract with the team expired though, McGrattan decided to call it a day on his playing career, where he has since returned to North America and has spent the last 3 seasons serving as a development coach for the Calgary Flames. He may not have been the most productive player throughout his career, but boy did he know how to get the crowd going. Next up at number 9, we have Cam Janssen. Another NHL enforcer and former 4th round draft pick, Cam Janssen's physical, fight-heavy play was quick to make him a fan favourite in the Elite League. A veteran of 336 NHL games split over 9 seasons between the New Jersey Devils and his hometown St. Louis Blues, Janssen had spent most of his past 2 seasons in the AHL with the Albany Devils before he decided to bring his hard-nosed game to the UK. The American forward joined the Nottingham Panthers roster for the 15-16 season, where he scored 8 points and racked up 98 penalty minutes in 51 regular season games, en route to helping the Panthers clinch both the 2016 Challenge Cup and the Elite League Playoff Championship. Similarly to McGrattan, this stint in Nottingham would be the last pro hockey of Janssen's career, as he announced his retirement from the sport at the conclusion of that season. Sure, he wasn't the most productive former NHLer that the Elite League has ever seen, but Janssen, playing the role that was expected of him, helped his team win 2 trophies. That's more than most of the players on this list can boast about, you know. At number 8, we have Patrick Dwyer. One of the more productive players on this list during his time in the UK, Patrick Dwyer certainly made the most of his time across the pond. A former 4th round draft pick back in 2002, wow, we've had a lot of 4th rounders so far, haven't we folks? Dwyer suited up in 416 NHL games over 7 seasons, all with the Carolina Hurricanes, where he scored 42 goals and 93 points for his efforts. After leaving the Hurricanes roster at the conclusion of the 14-15 season, the American forward went on to play a year in the Swedish Hockey League, returned to the Hurricanes organisation and play for their AHL affiliate in Charlotte in 16-17 and joined the Denmark League in 17-18 before signing with the Elite League's Belfast Giants for the 18-19 season. Dwyer would go on to have a very strong year in Northern Ireland, scoring 25 goals and 61 points in just 38 regular season games, en route to earning a place on the Elite League's second All-Star team, as well as helping the Giants hoist both the 2019 regular season championship and the Challenge Cup. Following his season in Belfast, Dwyer decided to hang up his skates and call it a day on his career, where he promptly returned to the Hurricanes organisation by taking up a position behind the bench, serving as an assistant coach for the Charlotte Checkers during the recent 1920 season. And who says there's no loyalty in sports nowadays? With the 7th spot on this list, we have Eric Cairns. The first player on this list to join the Elite League thanks to a lockout, Cairns is one of the OG NHL players to bring his talents to the league. A third-round draft pick back in 1992, Cairns went on to play in 457 NHL games over 11 seasons, primarily with the New York Islanders, where he scored just 42 points, but racked up 1,182 penalty minutes. In the midst of this career though, the Canadian defenseman joined the now-defunct London Racers during the NHL's 04-05 lockout season, where he scored 8 points and registered 85 penalty minutes in just 22 games, before heading back over the pond when the lockout ended and the 05-06 NHL season got underway. Cairns then spent 3 more seasons in the Bigs, announced his retirement in 2008, and has since spent the last 12 years working for the New York Islanders front office, where he currently serves as the Director of Player Development. An 11-year NHL career and a 12-year stint in a team's front office? Not bad for a guy that scored just 10 goals in the league, is it? Next up, at number 6, we have Jim Vandermeer. The only player on this list to have played multiple seasons in the Elite League, Jim Vandermeer must have enjoyed the league quite a bit to stick around for so long. A veteran of 461 NHL games, split over 9 seasons with a dozen NHL teams, Vandermeer last played in the NHL with the San Jose Sharks during the 11-12 season, where he scored 4 points in 25 games. After his final stint in the Bigs, the Canadian defenseman spent a season in the AHL and 2 seasons in the Swiss National League before joining the Belfast Giants for the 15-16 season. Vandermeer would go on to spend the next 4 seasons with the Giants, becoming an integral part of the team's core and a consistent point producer from the blue line, scoring 21 goals and 80 points in 143 games, as well as helping Belfast to hoist a pair of Challenge Cup championships and a regular season title in 2019. Following the conclusion of the 18-19 season, the 39-year-old Vandermeer decided that he wanted to retire from playing pro hockey, and subsequently left the Giants organisation as a result. Over 400 NHL games and 4 seasons in the Elite League sounds like a pretty good career for an undrafted player if you ask me. Then again, the Elite League is my domestic league, so maybe I'm a little biased. Halfway through this list now, at number 5, we have Matt Valesky. One of only 3 players on this list to have recorded a 20-goal season in the NHL, Matt Valesky had no trouble showing the Elite League just what he could do. A former 4th-round pick back in 2006, Valesky has gone on to suit up in 477 NHL games, split over 11 seasons, with the Anaheim Ducks, the Boston Bruins, and the New York Rangers, scoring 76 goals and 158 points for his efforts. Midway through this career though, the Canadian forward took to the ice with the Elite League's Coventry Blaze during the NHL's 12-13 lockout, where he scored 9 goals and 26 points in 20 regular season games, as well as 10 points in 7 Challenge Cup games before the lockout ended and the forward returned to the Ducks roster for the rest of the year. Valesky then spent another 7 years in the NHL before being relegated to the AHL's Hartford Wolfpack full-time for the 18-19 season. With 26 points in 56 games for Hartford this past season, and at just 31 years old, there is the possibility that Valesky gets the chance to add to his NHL numbers if he finds a team interested in picking him up once his contract expires at the end of the season. Whether that happens or not though, he's still had an impressive career in the best league in the world, so I doubt he'll complain too much. At number 4, we have Wade Belak. The second player on this list to bring his talents across the pond during the Elite League's early years, Wade Belak made quite an impression to UK hockey fans. The 12th overall pick in the 1994 draft, Belak went on to play 549 NHL games, split over 14 seasons with a handful of teams, where he scored just 33 points, but recorded a whopping 1,263 penalty minutes. In the midst of this impressive career, the Canadian joined the Elite League's Coventry Blaze during the NHL's 04-05 lockout season, where he scored 8 points and racked up 109 penalty minutes in just 20 games, was named to the league's second All-Star team, and helped the Blaze clinch the highly coveted Grand Slam by winning the regular season championship, the playoff championship, and the Challenge Cup all in the same year. When the lockout finally ended and the NHL resumed play for the 05-06 season, Belak would return to the league and play another 6 seasons in the NHL, announce his retirement in March of 2011, before tragically passing away approximately 6 months later at just 35 years old. Such a heartbreaking end to such a long and successful career, but I'm sure Coventry fans will always remember him fondly. Rest in peace, big guy. Next up, at number 3, we have Drew Miller. One of only 2 players on this list that can boast a Stanley Cup championship on their resume, Drew Miller had no trouble bringing his championship caliber play during his brief trip across the pond. A 3rd-round draft pick back in 2003, Miller suited up in 571 NHL games over 11 seasons, predominantly with the Detroit Red Wings, and scored 122 points in the process. During the latter half of his career though, the American forward joined Scotland's Braehead clan during the NHL's 12-13 lockout until things got back to normal and the NHL resumed play. Miller scored 15 goals and 30 points in 23 regular season games with Braehead and played a big part in the clan clinching the 2013 Gardiner Conference Championship before heading back to North America once the NHL season got underway. Miller would then go on to play 5 more seasons with Detroit, play a year in the Swedish Hockey League in 17-18 before hanging up his skates and calling it a day. He wasn't a big point scorer during his pro career, but at least he was over a point per game for the first time during his stint in the UK. That must have felt pretty good for him, right? Penultimately, at number 2, we have Chris Stewart. The only player on this list to have returned to the NHL after playing in the UK without a lockout taking place, Chris Stewart is one of the most recent and certainly one of the more surprising names on this list. The 18th overall pick back in 2006, Stewart has currently taken to the ice in 668 NHL games over 11 seasons with over half a dozen teams, where he has scored 160 goals and 322 points in the process. After a 7-game stint with the Calgary Flames towards the conclusion of the 17-18 season, the 31-year-old decided to step away from the NHL and briefly enter the Allen Cup tournament before signing with the Elite League's Nottingham Panthers on January 3rd, 2019 for the remainder of the 18-19 season. Stewart went on to score 6 goals and 13 points in 23 regular season games with the Panthers, but was unable to earn any silverware before the season came to an end and the forward decided to take another crack at the bigs. This past season, Stewart signed a 1-year contract with the Philadelphia Flyers and spent the majority of the year with the team, where he scored just a single point in 16 games. Though he was demoted to the AHL a few weeks before the season's pause, Stewart has seen more games than most of the other players on this list and has definitely scored many more points too. Before we get to the top spot on this list, I have a few honourable mentions that I have awarded to Paul Bissonnette, Anthony Stewart and Tom Sestito, who all played in the Elite League during the NHL's 12-13 lockout, but they were lesser known names in the NHL at the time, and they didn't have careers that were as impressive as the other players on this list. But I did want to give them a mention since they were NHL players when they joined the Elite League, so there you go. And finally, at number 1, we have none other than Theo Flurry. A 7-time NHL All-Star, a Stanley Cup champion, and scorer of 1,088 points in 1,084 NHL games, Theo Flurry is by far the biggest and best NHLer to ever play in the Elite Ice Hockey League. An 8th round draft pick back in 1987, Flurry went on to play 15 seasons in the National Hockey League, where he posted 4 40-goal seasons, 1 50-goal season, and 2 100-point seasons, en route to becoming both a superstar in the league and one of the best players of his generation. As his NHL career was winding down with the Chicago Blackhawks in 02-03, the Canadian forward decided to forego playing during the 03-04 season, spend the 04-05 lockout in the NPHL Senior League, before deciding to head across the pond and bring his talents to the Elite League the following year. Flurry suited up for the Belfast Giants during the 05-06 season, and showed exactly why he was such a mainstay in the best league in the world, as he scored 22 goals and 74 points in just 34 games, leading the league in both assists and points, as well as earning himself first-team All-Star honours and helping the Giants to hoist the 2006 regular season championship. This season in Northern Ireland would turn out to be the final pro hockey of Flurry's career, as he decided to hang up his skates and retire shortly after. However, he did resurface briefly during the 08-09 season, when he suited up for the Steinbach North Stars in the Allen Cup and scored 27 points in 13 games. So even at 41 years old, the dude still had it. Could you imagine if a former 1,000 game veteran of the NHL joined the Elite League today? It would be like the second coming of Tony Hand. And that's my list of the 10 best NHLers to play in the Elite Ice Hockey League. What do you guys think about this list? Was there a player that you didn't know about, or did I miss someone completely obvious out? Also, do you want me to make more videos on the Elite League? It's obviously my domestic league and I love making videos about it, so if this video gets enough views or enough likes or enough comments, maybe I'll make some more about the Elite League. It's up to you guys, I guess. But let me know in the comments below what you thought. I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. A big thank you to Antti Hannanen, Chris Gadsby, Connor B, Paul Mallia, Jordan Whitehead, and Martin Tolness, as well as a huge thank you to Max Artis for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.